Hey, everybody. I'm Matt,
I'm Deanna.
and this is Chasing Balance. And in this episode, we're asking ourselves, do we celebrate enough? So, why this topic? Do we celebrate enough? A couple things come to mind that wanted me to bring up this topic, and one of them would be just thinking about how we celebrated Preston's first birthday, our firstborn son, and how we went all out, baseball theme, Cracker Jacks, hot dogs, cotton candy, just everything.
Foam fingers.
Yeah, foam fingers, just everything celebrating his first birthday. And then, you get to the third kid and it kind of just falls to the wayside.
Yeah.
So,
What kind of special dinner do you want?
yeah, you want to get Five Guys?
Hey, that is a small fortune.
It is. That's true. Yeah. And then another thing, I thought about too is that do we celebrate each other's accomplishments? And one thing comes to mind, and I'm going to call you out on this, is that a few years ago, I did that challenge of running 1,000 miles in a year.
You did, yes.
Yep.
That was
And I thought I
great.
was dropping a hint. Like, hey, you know that when you complete this, you can get a medal.
Yeah. Did you get the medal?
I honestly thought that you were going to buy it for me, and I completed it, and there was no celebration there. So yeah, I thought you were going to get me that medal,
I'm so sorry.
and it still is on my mind.
It's in the mail.
Is it?
It is.
It's stuck. It must have shipped USPS.
Yeah. Yes, it did.
Okay.
And there was that whole strike, and the COVID happened.
That was 5 years after. This was a long time ago.
I'm sorry.
What does celebration mean to you? Like big or small? Like what is a big celebration to you?
A big celebration to me would be like a holiday party or like a birthday.
Okay.
And then a small celebration would be like something that you worked at for a really long time and then you completed it, like running 1,000 miles in a year.
That should be a big celebration.
Well, I guess, yes, that should be a big celebration.
And let's make it clear to the listeners is that, just because we're asking ourselves, do we celebrate enough? Like, we go all out for Christmas. We go all out for, the holidays. We try to.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems like, the smaller, things, as far as, say, our kids get straight A's, or if they pass spelling tests, or if they went undefeated in their soccer season, those I just feel like we could celebrate more, but we don't,
I agree.
And those aren't really small, but
yeah, they take a longer time to accomplish. And it tends to fall at the wayside because it's not like this reoccurring thing. It's kind of like something that you have to keep track of. And if you're not personally the one doing it, then I guess it does fall to the wayside.
Are we too busy to celebrate? Or do we just not prioritize it?
I think we just don't prioritize it, which isn't a great example, I guess, for our kids, because then they don't end up celebrating their small victories.
I think it's a mixture of both.
Yeah?
I think we're too busy. And we don't prioritize it. I mean, going back to the birthdays, like Preston's, we planned for, months on how we wanted this birthday to look, months to where, Amazon back then wasn't, the get it in 2 days type of thing.
Right.
Like we actually had to plan.
It came by train.
Yeah. It came by USPS or UPS or something like that.
Yes.
And we actually had to plan for it.
Yeah.
So I do think that we do get too busy with our jobs and sports and packed schedules. And then on top of that, we just don't prioritize it. I think we just think that, it might be more important to make sure that the schedule is booked for the next week and we have everything set instead of celebrating this small thing that just happened right then and there. Right. Maybe it's because the way that you and I are, especially me, is if we're going to celebrate something, I want to go balls to the walls and celebrate it. Right.
You do.
I don't want just like a spur of the moment, half put together celebration.
Yeah. And my version of celebrating is like completely different. Like I feel like my version of celebrating, like for my personal victories and that kind of stuff, would be food related. Because I love food.
Oh.
So
yeah,
like
you gotta have good food at a celebration always.
So wait, are you saying that we should be like doing like lavish things for small celebrations, or like let's get a slice of cheesecake and celebrate?
That's not what I'm saying.
That's my version of a small celebration.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying give diabetes every time we do something good. No, what I'm saying is like, Braden has been on a streak of, 100% spelling tests for the last, 4 or 5 weeks. We haven't done anything for it.
Yeah, outside of telling him like congratulations.
Right.
Yeah. Those are the types of things that we should probably celebrate more frequently, or like getting first chair and like those types of accomplishments.
I mean, even Preston's gotten first chair 3 quarters in a row.
Yeah.
Now
and there's like 4 other kids in his section.
Yeah.
He just keeps on plugging along.
Yep. There's the cultural, and societal shifts in how we celebrate affect us. Like as far as like social media goes, like what is worthy of celebration. And I was thinking about this, and I used to post on Facebook all the time. I mean, I still get embarrassed by some of the stuff that I've written on there.
Yes, very much so.
Back from like 2012, I'm like, what in the hell did I post? Why did I say this? And I was so outspoken, and maybe that was a good thing. And now I just watch what I say because maybe I'm worried about offending somebody. But I also celebrated more things then. Like got a new motorcycle. Picture of that. If I made the dean's list in college, I would take a picture of that and post it. And now it's kind of like, does this really matter that I'm posting it?
Well, I feel like we filtered ourselves less back then. And it was also the mind state, right? Because we were younger and we were kind of, not saying that we were ever self-absorbed.
Everything revolves around me.
Yeah. And then you get older and you have a bunch of kids, and then you realize that none of that is as important as what you thought it was when you were younger.
Mm-hmm.
And then, because I mean, I haven't posted any of that kind of stuff on Instagram or Facebook or anything like that in a long time. And
so it's harder to celebrate as you get older.
Yeah, I think it's harder to celebrate in that you fall into the mindset of like how you were when you were a kid. I think, like we didn't in our household, we didn't really celebrate that much outside of. No, we didn't celebrate anything outside of birthdays and holidays. And I feel like that's...
Not even if you had like a good grade on a test?
You would have to get good grades on tests in order to have celebrations.
No, but I mean, I don't know if you did it, but I don't know. Like, remember Book It? Like, I know it wasn't our parents that did it, but like if you read like 5 books over the summer or whatever it is, you got a free little mini... personalized pizza for you at Pizza Hut, right? Like that's something that sticks in my mind to this day. Like that was a celebration, right? It
was. And I mean, maybe everything has changed for our kids, because I feel like there was a lot more of those types of like incentive celebration type of things when we were younger. And now I feel like it's just like everything all the time at once.
You know what else they have?
Every single week they have like 7 things going on. And it's like, do we really have to have crazy sock day right now?
Oh yeah, let's just spirit wear for 10 days straight.
Exactly. And they don't have anything that's long term.
So maybe
celebration type.
So maybe the kids celebrate too much. So when it's actually time to celebrate, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, maybe.
Another thing is that when I was a kid, if you wore your helmet on your bike, police officers would pull up to you and give you a ticket for a Slurpee, a free Slurpee.
What?
Yeah. And they don't do that here, obviously. I don't know if they do that anymore. But yeah, if you were
we only have state troopers, and they don't stop for anything.
No. If you were a responsible kid and you were wearing a helmet, a police officer would pull you to the side. I don't want to say pull over, pull you to the side and just say, "Hey, thanks for wearing your helmet. That's a really smart choice. Here's a free Slurpee ticket."
Gosh, our generation was just amazing, wasn't it?
When we were kids?
Yeah.
It was nice and carefree most of the time.
It really was. Now I feel like they do too much. They do too much and too little at the same time.
That's true. So it is, I do think that it is harder to celebrate as you get older. Like when you're young, everything feels like a milestone.
Mm-hmm.
And I read something online, and I don't know if I'm going to phrase this correctly, but it talks about why time feels different or milestones seem different when you get older. And it's because you've lived so much longer that those milestones are small within your existence.
Oh.
Where when you are younger, that milestone potentially could take up a huge core memory within just your short life.
Yeah.
And as you get older, obviously it dwindles because you've lived so much longer. You've had so many more experiences.
Yeah.
So it's different in that sense. And that kind of, when I read that, I was just like, damn, that's deep.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
I don't like it.
No.
I'm old.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that.
We have, responsibilities that sometimes take away from our spontaneity. And that's another reason why I think that it is a combination of, are we too busy or do we not prioritize it? Because we do prioritize our responsibilities, which make us too busy for us to be spontaneous.
Yeah.
There's been like several years in a row where I'm just like, Deanna, we need to get out of this hellhole called Michigan.
Yeah.
And we need to take a vacation. Let's just book a flight and go tomorrow. And you being the responsible one, you're like, Matt, the kids have school. The kids will, they have soccer, they have baseball, they have practice. We will get arrested for them skipping this much school.
Yeah.
And I'm just like all the spontaneity is gone because of what we have to do.
And then you have to cram everything into the summer. And then it's like, now it's so short-lived because football starts in August.
Yeah, we have to report back. Preston has to report to the field in August. So that's a whole month where we kind of stay put.
In where we are in Michigan, our summers go from June to September.
Yep, and they go back to school in September.
Yeah. So we have like a very short bandwidth of things that we can do, and it's so nice. And then you don't want to leave the state because we only have like 4 good months in the state.
And there's some times where I think I said it like last year when I'm like, Deanna, why don't we get rid of the up north house and get a house in like Arizona and we just go there in the wintertime? And then you remind me again, Matt, we have kids in school. Like, fuck, I forgot about school.
Yeah, and then that's also kind of hard because it's like if something goes wrong with that house, it's like a 3-hour drive. We can go up there and we can check on it. Where if something goes wrong with a house in like Arizona, we have to literally plan.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about that. That's not the biggest.
That's what I think.
That's not the struggle.
Yeah, well, like what if we get there and it's infested with snakes? Or scorpions.
Or we show the kids how to pick up snakes and get rid of them. I don't know.
These are the thoughts that I have.
So it wasn't school. You were just using school as an excuse.
No, I mean, those were logical reasons. No, but also my illogical side is just like scorpions and snakes.
So do we grow out of celebrating? I think we kind of do. And it sucks. And we got to fix it somehow.
Yeah. We have to start prioritizing it more frequently, or maybe even setting, maybe we do like a 1 day a month. Like we have a set, like the 15th of every single month. This is when we celebrate.
Here we go scheduling again and not being spontaneous. We're trying to be spontaneous. Oh my Lord. Are you listening to this podcast?
I live off of a calendar. This is just how my brain works.
And this is why we can never take spontaneous. Oh, you know what? Instead of taking a trip tomorrow, why don't we plan one 2 years from now? So let's put the kids aside. Let's put their school and everything aside. Do we as adults tie celebrations to external validation, like money and status, more than just being happy and being joyous in the occasion? I mean,
I don't think that we do. The two of us do, but I feel like there's probably a good chunk of people out there that do.
I think we do.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I think it's to the fact that, like, you get to a certain point in life, like where, you're living, I guess like that first entry job, paycheck to paycheck, when you and I first, move in together, and even when we were first married for a while there for a few years, where we're living paycheck to paycheck, and then finally we get like a career going, or we get that bump in our salary, and that's like this huge
influx.
Like relief,
yeah.
Right? And it's this huge celebration. Like I remember when I first got my raise at the home builder I was working for, and that just changed our lives.
Yeah.
Right? And like that.
Or even when I switched from my last job to my current job, we went away for just the two of us for like 3 days.
Yep.
And we did like a vacation out in Florida.
And we celebrated, right?
Yeah.
And it was just like this huge, almost like this huge like breath of fresh air filled up our lungs and just said, you can relax now.
Yeah.
But now, if we were to get a raise, one, we expect it. Every 12
have to
months.
Fight for it.
Every 12 months, like clockwork. You know what I'm saying? Like we expect it.
Yeah.
And when it does happen, it's no big deal. Because it's not that big of a change to our lifestyle.
Yeah. But also, I mean,
we're more so going off our principles instead of living.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, in my work, you have to like petition it, right? You have to like you have to give like reasoning and why you should justify getting a raise. And then the raise ends up being like 2% or something like that. And
at my work, it's, hey, I showed up.
See, that's two different fields.
I did my job.
Yeah. Marketing versus like insurance.
Yeah. Well, I guess if marketing wasn't working, I'd be having a different
Exactly. But you do your job very well. Mine is very matrix based, right?
Yeah. You guys have a lot of hands within it.
Yeah.
Where it doesn't really show what person is doing what thing. No, I get
exactly. It. And yours is like, this is an actual visual representation of what you have done versus me where it just kind of falls within everything.
Now flipping the table, turn in that table, turn it to the other side, flip that card.
Lazy Susan it.
Is it hard to celebrate when you have kids? As far as parent guilt, and we kind of talked about this last week. I'm going to bring it up again. Yeah. With the truck.
Fucking car.
With that truck. Like my thought process, I even said in that episode, like I should be spending this money on the kids. I should be spending this money on Deanna. I should be putting this money in the bank or savings or stock market or something like that. Like, do we have parental guilt when we celebrate ourselves? Like I should be spending this time, energy, money on the kids instead.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, the smallest comparison is bras. It took me 2 years to buy myself new bras because those motherfuckers are very expensive, for one. And for two, I always thought, well, no, I can just use the money to put it towards this or that or, So I've just been walking around with wires poking out of my bras for 2 years.
It still looks good. I'm not going to complain. But I mean, and it's the same thing. Like if Max is like, the freaking Bluey Legos that are coming out right now.
Yeah.
He loves Bluey. Bluey's coming out with Lego. He loves Bluey. He loves Lego. They're together. What could be better than, peanut butter and jelly there,
right, yeah.
or peanut butter and honey, depending on how you take it.
Peanut butter.
So
honey.
I had no problem going out and spending that money.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to say how much it was.
No, don't.
But if it was a spur of the moment thing for me,
yeah.
Oh, I'm going to second guess it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to think about it for days before
Mm-hmm.
I go ahead and spend that money.
Yeah. Yeah,
Now,
I think that we have a lot of guilt when it comes to spending money on ourselves, even though we're the ones that do all the hard work in order to get the money.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. And then also having those spur of the moment celebrations for the kids, I feel like it's very hard because I mean, one of our children, I'm not going to name who, expects the sun, the stars, and the moon and the galaxy when it comes to small things. And the other one is like, thanks for noticing me. He doesn't have those expectations. So it's like celebrating things for him kind of is a little easier. But then I get like, I don't know, I get anxious about celebrating things for the other because it's like, I don't know if it's going to be enough. And they like I said, they have so many different celebrations at school that the stuff that we put together is going to just like, it's not going to be the core memory. It's not
but
the
Eeyore kid you were just talking about,
yes,
he doesn't have celebration at schools. They don't have that many celebrations at schools. And when they do, he just forgets about them. He's got other stuff going on, or he just doesn't really give a shit.
No.
Now, the time and energy factor, do we put our joy last when it comes to our kids? Like, do we put our kids first and put our joy on the back burner?
Yes.
Yes.
100%. Yes, 100%. Like when it comes to stuff that I feel like I need to do for myself, like working out or something like that, I put that in the forefront. But I feel like that's more of a job, you know, and that's not really for myself. It's just to
keep living,
keep my life,
and
yeah.
I mean, you got to work out to keep your energy up.
Yeah.
Be ready to tackle the next day or that day with the kids.
Yeah. But I mean, and I even did, you were so nice one year and you got me that glass blowing class segment. And I did that for, I think it was like a 3-month or 6-month class segment. Loved it. But also it was like at the ass crack of dawn, an hour away. And it took up the whole entire day. And
I honestly thought about that the other day. Like, I thought she liked this. Why is she not doing it again? I loved it.
But it's very far away and it would take up the entire day. And now with how all of the sports and all the extracurricular stuff is, it just wouldn't work out. It would be me putting more work on you so that I can be doing something for myself. And then I would just have guilt and I would just want to be home and I wouldn't really enjoy it.
Oh, I don't care about that stuff.
I know you don't care about that, but that's what goes on in my head.
If I'm at home on a Saturday morning with the kids and I don't have to, quote unquote, be at work or be clocked in basically, and the kids are good.
Yeah.
I don't care.
No, but you don't do that because when you're at home on a Saturday and the kids are happy, you're cleaning the house, like detailing the house. So then I get home and I'm like, this house is immaculate and it's so beautiful. And all I did was sit in a soccer field for 3 hours while you were slaving away. And I feel like shit. So
you shouldn't.
I do.
You're tackling something that really I don't want to be doing. And I'm tackling something that really you don't want to be doing, right?
Well, no.
And it's not, let me, it's not that I don't want to be at the soccer games. It's that I have social anxiety.
Yeah, you don't want to be around people.
I don't want to be around people. And it's not even that. We'll talk about this, later, and we'll have like a whole segment dedicated to this. But it's not that. So anyways, you're tackling something that I am not prepared for. I'll say it that way.
Yeah.
And I'm tackling something that you probably don't want to do, right? You don't want to clean this house.
I don't mind cleaning the house. I just feel like my ADD is like terrible when it comes to it because like I will take 2 hours in one room because I've now found like 3 junk drawers that I have to organize.
You have to, yeah.
Yeah. And then you do the whole entire house in like 3 hours and it looks just the same.
Now, I don't know how we're going to transition back to celebration after we're talking about But the next point I want to say is that is living through your kids' milestones. Do parents and do we, and every single question that I ask, I want the listener to ask themselves this too.
Yeah.
And see if they can either change it, put it in a new perspective, maybe think about stuff that they haven't thought about before. Do parents and do we only celebrate our children's achievements instead of our own? And I think we do.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, talk about what we've been through for, the past few years, I got different jobs. We didn't celebrate me getting new jobs.
Right.
You got a raise. We didn't celebrate you getting a raise.
Right.
We got certain things that are, kind of new to us, material things, but also, we also, an achievement that we did. We ran a marathon.
Yeah.
We didn't celebrate that.
No, we didn't.
I mean, we ran the marathon, literally went back to the house and just watched a Denzel marathon.
We did. But it was amazing.
Yeah.
I will say that was probably a highlight from 2024.
That was like our first date night in years.
It was.
Date day.
And we slept and we watched like 3 movies in a row, and we ate food, and we didn't do anything until we had to drive home.
Yeah.
And it was amazing.
So I do think that we live through our kids' milestones. Obviously, especially the kids' birthdays or first birthdays, especially, it's kind of like a milestone for the parent. It's kind of a celebration. Well, it is a celebration for the parent. The kid doesn't know what the hell's going on,
no,
right?
They don't.
They can't even manage to get cake in their mouth.
Right.
Right. So we do live through our kids' milestones, and that somewhat, helps us celebrate our life and what we go through or what we've accomplished, like keeping this kid alive another year.
Right. Yeah. But I think that it's kind of like a blurred line in a way, because seeing them super happy and seeing that smile on their face, it kind of gives
it's like
you
Christmas morning.
Exactly. It gives you that warm and happy and fulfilled feeling inside of you that kind of squashes away the need to celebrate your own achievements, I guess, or at least that's what I think.
Moving on to the next part. What?
He didn't want to weigh in on that. Go on. Proceed.
We have kids running around while we are recording this.
So many
and we've
Legos.
had to stop and start and stop and start. And maybe going forward, we just let the podcast run and you guys can hear our kids bringing Legos down to us to see them.
Can you wipe my butt?
Or asking us to wipe
this
the
Lego.
butt. So
maybe we should celebrate when we're done with this.
So this is a perfect segue to has life sucked the joy out of celebrations? Like the idea, and this is more so on me, I believe, you too, but the idea that when something good happens, we brace for something bad.
Mm-hmm.
And this has happened to me more recently than I can even, frickin' remember, going back to that Florida trip where we went. My manager said, "Hey, let me buy you dinner."
Yeah.
And then we get back from vacation and I get laid off. Or, we have this brand new house built and we're about to move in for our kids' school and the school shuts down. Or, I can't enjoy it because when something good happens, something bad happens.
Yeah. And I mean, that whole entire mindset that you have predates any of the stuff that has happened since we've created a family. That started like years and years and years ago when you were doing music and you got a record label to come to you and offer you, a contract to sign. And then the other person in your little duo was like, I'm out.
Yeah, shit just hit the fan.
Yeah, and then you just kind of were left
all those years of hard work.
Dry. Yes, exactly.
He just kind of showed up and did the music artist part. I did the management, the booking, the artist part, recording, and yeah.
But that's when it all started for you. It was just like it really changed your mindset in going from staying positive and celebrating those small victories to now I got to look out for when the other foot's going to fall.
Well, it's true. I mean, this is kind of like therapy. It's kind of eye opening.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and are we afraid to celebrate too much? Like, you know, one of the things I wanted to do is, you know, get a book and start reading on putting things out into the universe. What is that called?
Manifesting things.
Yeah. But to me, manifesting, talking about it, you know, trying to bring it to fruition, to me, in my whole entire life, is me jinxing it.
Yeah.
Like
don't put it out in the universe.
Yeah. I'm superstitious of what I would say. Like, oh, I really want to get this customer. I'm going to get that customer. Mm-hmm. That customer called me today. This order is going to go through.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if it doesn't fall through, it's because I was, 1, excited about it.
Yeah.
2, I talked about it. And then you start thinking like, well, I didn't deserve it. Or maybe I couldn't have fulfilled that order.
Yeah.
You know, or maybe my pricing was too high, and this and this and this. And you always think of that. And then also on top of that, when you try to, like, you know, we also have this fear, I do, like even introducing this podcast to people like family and friends, and you too.
Yeah.
Because I asked you, like, are you okay with me putting this out there and inviting some Facebook friends and family members to like the page? We also have like a fear of judgment.
Yeah.
Fear of the expression.
Yeah. Yeah, that's 100% valid. And a lot of mine was just like I didn't want to talk to people.
Not talk to people, but explain.
Yes.
Your feelings.
Yes.
Your
exactly.
true deep down feelings that we talk about on this podcast. You didn't want to have to validate that to somebody else.
Yeah. Because my recollection of what might have happened in my past and my childhood might not be the recollection that other people have. And that's what I didn't want to have to deal with.
Yeah.
But
negative bias from other people.
Yeah.
That causes, you know, the stress and anxiety and the lack of the ability to enjoy the moment. Maybe that's where some of my anxiety comes from, because I'm just waiting for a piano to fall on my fucking head.
Yeah.
Right?
And I mean, yes, I agree that a lot of your anxiety is probably coming from that part. And it's unfortunate that you have had to deal with so many like uphill climbs to just be pushed down and develop that mindset. Because I mean, it was a lot different prior to a lot of like the ripple effect that had happened. And I think you would have a different mindset had it not gone that way in a lot of those scenarios.
Yeah, I mean, I am a completely different person than I am now than I was 5 years ago.
Yeah. Well, I mean, still the same person that I fell in love with. Yeah. Yeah, your mind's fucked.
I mean, that's truth. That's very true.
But I mean, and in my job, like what I work, I am the person that has to look for all the potential issues. I have to be the negative one. Like that's my job. Like something good happens, and then I have to think of all of the spider web effects and how it could potentially go wrong, and then address those areas to make sure that it doesn't go wrong.
So somebody accomplishes something or gets something pushed lived. Yeah. You have to go back in there and be like, okay, great job. Let me double check your work and see how this is going to mess up my day.
Pretty much.
So you're
I'm like the fact checker.
Yeah. Now let's move on to the topic of celebration and how we can get better at celebrating. Like, how can we make small, intentional what?
Schedule it. Put it on the calendar.
How can we make small, intentional ways to mark moments? Obviously, we can schedule it. You know, we can have a plan in place. Like, hey, you know, we sidebar each other. Like, hey, Braden's got a spelling test coming up. It's a really hard one. If he does really good, I'm going to take them out and get, tropical smoothie afterwards or something like that. Just a big celebration. We make a big, hoo-ha about it, you know? So yes, we need to think of small intentional ways to mark moments and maybe not even think about it. It's got to be, spontaneous, maybe after a soccer game or a football game or a hard practice, we go out and we just stopping at a store and getting a Slurpee or, a candy or a burger or something that we know that they really like to just celebrate it. And even if it's just them.
Or it doesn't, and it doesn't even have to be monetary based.
Who doesn't like a burger and a Slurpee?
Right. Yeah. That is, yeah. But I like any of the stuff that you consistently say no for.
Yeah.
Like every day after school, the boys will ask to go to the playground and play in the playground.
Yeah.
When it's nice out. And I have to say no because we have practice. We got to get back. Yeah. We got to get back to work or we have practice or we have to eat dinner like super fast so that everybody can have enough energy to do the practice and then get hungry at 6:30 when they get home. But even if we start saying like yes to those things that we consistently say no to as a form of the celebration, that might be something special to them.
Yeah. You're right. It doesn't have to be monetary. That's where my mind goes. And obviously yours goes to the
cheap.
Yeah, cheap and experiences. And we need to also find the joy in the process, not just the outcome. And I know that's very hard to do. It's very hard to do. Even training for something like the marathon, like we go out and we run, 20, 30, 40 miles a week just to be ready for a 12-mile run, and even when we haven't the week before couldn't hit that mark where we had to stop and walk when we were trying to hit 10 miles. And then the next week we actually hit that 10 miles and it's just like, all right, I got to shower, get ready, get food going.
Right.
Like we never stop and pat ourselves on the back, right? And say, man, you just ran 10 freaking miles, right?
You did that a lot. Like I would come in the door and I would be fine or I'd be bitching about something that happened on the run. And then you'd take a second and you'd be like, just think about what you did last week. Last week you were you were crawling in the door. You couldn't get up.
You asked for help up the stairs.
Yes. Yeah. And this week you're complaining about the 3 dogs that tried to attack you. Yeah. Good for you.
Hey, I'm very positive with the people around me, or I try to motivate the people around me. Yes. I'm not very positive with myself.
That is very true.
Right. We also need to teach our kids and ourselves that celebrating isn't about perfection and that it's about acknowledgement. Going back to exactly what I just said, that when I want to celebrate something, I want it to be balls to the walls. If a kid's having a birthday party, I want there to be a fucking petting farm there. I want to have a food truck. I want to have tents. I want to have everything. But it doesn't need to be that.
No.
Just having friends and family over with some pizza and ice cream would do just fine.
Yeah. And that's probably where a lot of our arguments come from, because we'll go and plan and I do very simplistic and I'm like, this is what we're going to do. And you're like, great, this sounds great. And then like a week before you're like, I got it. I'll take it from here. And then I step in and I'm like, what the fuck did you just do?
But I'm good at it.
You're very good at it. You are very good at putting together a party. And they all end up being phenomenal.
Yeah.
But also I lead with simplistic and you lead with your credit card.
I'm trying to give the kids experiences that they won't forget, right? And I understand that it's a monetary value coming from me to do these things, as far as like getting a petty farm or getting a food truck or getting this huge, blow up water slide. But I'm not buying them a physical thing. I'm buying them an experiment. I'm sorry. It could be an experiment with the farm, but I'm buying
and the
them.
Food truck.
Yeah, I'm buying them an experience, right? Yeah. In a way.
Yeah.
I don't know. We have two different ways of looking at it, but I mean, it's the right way to think about it. Is that celebrating isn't about being, it being perfect. It's about
and then
acknowledgement, just acknowledging what they have done. And obviously acknowledgement it isn't always what's going to wow your kids and like, oh my mom and dad are really proud of me right now. There is always something you need to go above and beyond at least a little bit.
Yeah.
To show them that this was a special thing.
In fairness, I guess that's the difference between like adult parties and kid parties, right? Yeah. Like when we do kid parties, it's like a bunch of the kids, a bunch of stuff, like the petting farm and all that shit. But then when you and I have a birthday, it's like, let's go out to eat. And then we're just with the family. And
we don't even go out to eat anymore. We just get food in.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. Because I don't want to deal with anybody. Like on my birthday, I don't want to see people that I don't want to see.
Well, a good thing that you did that I thought was weird, but after we did it, I was like, well, that's kind of cool. Like Mother's Day, a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, you were just like, I was like, what do you want to do for Mother's Day? And you were just like, I just want to go on a walk.
Did I say that?
Yeah. I remember we went to the park and we went on a nature walk.
Oh, yeah.
And then we went to the petting farm.
We went on a hike.
Yeah.
And
went to the petting farm and then we ate at the petting farm.
I loved that. Yeah.
It was just simple. Like you just wanted to go and the kids loved that. And that's like something that, that just like you said, the park after school, that's just something that you can do to celebrate, something small like that. Just getting in the car and going up to the park or going for a walk or going to the petting farm that's close to us, something like that. Just some small thing that's not just overblown.
Yeah.
So to wrap this up, what's one thing, and ask yourselves this too, what's one thing that you'll start celebrating more? In my mind, birthdays need to be celebrated a little bit bigger for Max. Like Max, our youngest, has gotten shafted.
He had a good birthday. Well, I mean, he is 4. He had one good birthday.
I don't think he had. I mean, he was born during COVID.
Yeah.
Right?
And then there was the aftermath after that.
Yeah. I mean, we've never had a big birthday party for Max.
Why didn't we do one last year? What did we do last year?
I don't know. That's the whole thing. I don't know why we didn't. We were either up north or we were training for the triathlon or I'm sorry, the marathon or Preston had football or he had a game or Braden had some kind of soccer tournament that weekend. Something happened to where we did not celebrate Max.
I can't remember.
Right. You can't think back to a good birthday party that we had for Max, but I can think back to 5 or 6 really good birthday parties that we had for our oldest. So that's one thing I would want to focus on is that I really want to start celebrating more for Max.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay. And I encourage the listeners to take time to appreciate the wins, big or small, and that's same with us.
Yeah,
like for ourselves, not just for our kids, not just their small wins, but our small wins.
Yeah, I think that that's something that I should work on is celebrating the two of us and our small victories. And because I mean, I don't really have a hard time setting aside time to celebrate the boys and their birthday, even though apparently I forgot last year to celebrate our youngest.
I'm not even sure if he had a birthday last year. We might have just looked 4? Over that.
No, but I think that that's something that I need to start working on. Because we do tend to just keep on going and forget about those little things. And even if it's something as simple as like the book challenge that I have for this year, or you with working out and your 1,000 miles.
It's too late now. Don't you dare get off this.
It's still in the mail.
So much bullshit. I know that's a lie. So ask yourself these questions. Do we celebrate enough? Do you celebrate enough? If not, why? Figure out why it's gotten harder to celebrate as you get older. And we know why it's harder to celebrate when you have kids, but don't feel like you only have to bring to light and celebrate your kids' milestones. You need something to celebrate and show yourself just how well you've done.
Yeah.
Make sure that life cannot continue to suck the joy out of celebrations.
Yeah, and it's probably really healthy for them to see too, that it's not just us celebrating them, that they now are taking the time to celebrate us as well.
Yeah, and they see that you're taking care of yourself and you're celebrating your small wins, and it's okay for them to be motivated by themselves, not just an external audience.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then ask yourself, how can we get better at celebrating? You know, that's probably a really hard question. You know, whether it's planned, like Deanna likes to do, or whether it's spontaneous, which we should all do.
Yes, we should.
Everyone should be more spontaneous. And I know it's hard to do, especially when you have 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, and I know there's people that have more than that. Yeah, a herd of kids. Yeah. So we would love for you to share a recent celebration that you had with us. Drop us a line. Our email address is in the show notes. We greatly appreciate you for tuning in. And if you have any topics you want us to talk about or us to introduce on this podcast, send them our way. We'd love to hear from you. Once again, I'm Matt.
I'm Deanna.
And this is Chasing Balance.
Real life parenting, one conversation at a time.
We'll see you guys later.
Bye.